Nice. I just remember this because I told you that we went to, her name was Mrs. Rover, and she wore a hat, and she would sit in the front pew and teach us our Baltimore Catechism, which in those days we memorized everything. You'd say, why was I made to know and love and serve the Lord? I mean, just wrote stuff in that, and she would do that.
And
so
that was
what we did
in the original
old church, in the front row, and every Saturday, I think, and we went there to do that.
But you're looking at a different picture, right? Or you're looking at your first communion picture.
That's first communion.
Okay. You're looking.
That was you know, I don't remember much about that day. I'm sure we celebrated greatly, and I don't remember him either. But it must have not been too long after that we moved that. They had to move it in halves. Mm-hmm. So they took it on a great big, whatever, you move things like that on and moved it over here and put it on that property. And once we got there, now I don't know if he was still pastor when we were there or not, I don't remember. But when we got over here and got settled into the church as it was now, as it's Berry Hall, and Father Berry, he had been assigned to, I think, El Centro, and for whatever reason, he loved that place. Maybe they just loved him. And he stood in front of the congregation. He said, I don't want to be here, and I don't know why I got here. I mean, just really, that's how he made friends. That was his introduction. So we married at St. Martin's, and I'm going to show you some of the pictures of that because you can see, I think, the windows of the old church. Okay, yes, you can see the windows of the old church. I don't know if you can get a close-up of this. You probably had this one. This was Berry Hall. What Berry Hall is now. See these windows? Mm-hmm. You got close enough to see them? And then here, my husband. Then there's the pictures of us coming out of the church here. So you can see, unfortunately, I don't have the background of this enough for you to see if there was anything special about that altar, but here coming out, you can see some of the details of the church.
Yeah. You're showing us the original church, but it's here on this location,
That's
right?
Correct. We married right up there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was just before this church opened. Mm-hmm. Just before this one opened. Yeah, so it was quite, so talk about the history that we have with this church, and, you know, and my mother especially. My mother was so very involved. She was everybody's dream of an office person, or not office, but of an organizational manager, probably like you, Lisa. Mm. She really knew how to get people together and have them do things and be happy about it, and she was very, very active that way. Mm. And then her sister, Patsy's mother, Emma, did the bus tours. And then Aunt Corrine, she had so many little children, I don't remember what her involvement was. She probably was involved in the women's club, I would guess, because of her sisters. And let's see, who came next? Emma Corrine. Well, then Patsy, who was really involved, and her life, like she told you, is really the women's club. She's wonderful. So they're active people. I never was in any of the organizations. For a brief time, I taught some religious ed to developmentally disabled children. You know, of course, the children were prepared for their confirmation here and all their sacraments. And, well, CCD, I suppose, because they went to public school. And what else?
You also told me you were a choir member.
Oh, as a kid, as a little kid, that was the old church. Okay. Margaret Susak, who lived over here right across the street from Patsy. She was the choir director, I think, and she sort of gave me some idea of how to read music and things, and I had a pretty good voice, and I enjoyed singing with the choir. In those days, we would have midnight mass, and it was serious, so you would be fasting, for one thing, and your voice may not be the very best, but it was really, really a nice thing to be a part of. But the formation of a community is what really, really draws everybody. Mm-hmm. And then those ties are really wonderful. Mm-hmm. So. But they were encouraged by the people that, you know, were our pastors here, of course. And I went to school here to the last, I think, 7th and 8th grade, first graduating class. Picture of our thing over in Berry Hall. I think we were maybe 13 or 14 people, I don't remember, it was a small class. But, and the school sisters in Notre Dame taught us. So the thing about the community that's formed, I don't know, you see people there regularly, you know, it's the idea of being every Sunday at a certain mass and sitting in a certain place and, you know, watching people age and raise their children and see how things go with them. And that it's a real family kind of thing. So I have really enjoyed that very much.
So Sarah, what's it like growing up in this parish and having your grandma be a part of your faith life?
It's honestly amazing. I don't think that I realized how good that I had it when I was younger, for sure, because it's kind of normal, you know. Mom would come with us to Mass, and we'd meet Mom on the pew in the very front with Aunt Tina, and she would come also, and we'd pick up Aunt Tina and come to Mass. And then when I was finally like going to school and actually talking to kids about my faith or going to youth group, I realized that it's not usual at all to go to Mass with your grandmother and your entire family. So I'm very blessed to have that experience. And I also think that it's nice to see like her experiences from this church, her being raised in this church also, compared to my experience being raised in this church. And it's been a lot of years, but it's a pretty similar experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think's similar and what do you think's different?
Well, I think that I don't know if it's a church or a family or just a little bit of both, mm-hmm. but it's very community oriented, like what she was saying, family oriented. You see the same people at church, you can say hi to the same people at church. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel like we have a strong community here. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's similar in that way. Mm-hmm. And people just want to encourage you to grow in your faith. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then different, this place is very different, you know, it's a different church, different location. But I think that it still has the same beliefs and morals, and it's still centered around the same thing, which is God, and that'll be constant. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And Kathleen, is there anything inspiring to you to watch your grandchildren?
Oh, tremendously.
Growing up in this parish?
Tremendously, yes. We have 3 children, all baptized Catholic, I think they were all confirmed for sure. I did my best. And this family is very much into the faith. And fortunately, we live also geographically, it's very convenient. So even now when I'm not able to drive, they will pick me up and bring me to Mass, so it's wonderful. Of course, it's very encouraging to see that they embrace the faith as they do, and they do it in spades. I mean, it's wonderful to see how they practice their faith. Helen is a joiner, and and Matt is a wonderful man. They really inspire each other very much, and they're very committed to their faith. So that, you know, so of course you're going to have children like this. At least you start them off that way, and hope that it happens, you know.
Now, you were an altar server, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I hope that I'll be again soon. It was fun. Yeah, I was an altar server. It was great. And I had my first communion here, confirmation, reconciliation.
Youth group leader.
Youth group leader, yes.